What if the way we've been thinking about cancer is completely backwards? And what if the answer has been hiding in something no one is really paying attention to? Stay with me, because this idea could completely change how you think about cancer. There's a drug originally designed to kill parasitic worms, and in a few reported cases, it helped patients with stage 4 cancer reach complete remission. But here's the strange part. No major cancer institution is rushing to run large clinical trials on it. So the real question is, why? To understand that, we need to look deeper at the cellular level. Because when you zoom in far enough, cancer doesn't just look like a disease. It behaves like a parasite. Think about it. A parasite survives by taking resources from its host. It spreads into new areas, and it adapts quickly to survive. Cancer does the exact same thing. It feeds off your nutrients. It invades surrounding tissues, and it uses survival mechanisms that go back billions of years, shared with parasites, fungi, and primitive life forms. And this isn't a small problem. In 2025 alone, more than 2 million Americans were diagnosed with cancer. Even more concerning, cancer rates in younger people have risen dramatically over the past few decades. In fact, colorectal cancer, which used to be relatively rare in young men, is now one of the leading causes of cancer-related death in that group. So clearly, something deeper is going on, and there's something else most people don't fully understand. When you hear that survival rates are improving, it often means this. If someone lives for 5 years after diagnosis, it's counted as a success, even if they pass away shortly after that. So the numbers don't always tell the full story. Now let's build a simple foundation. Inside your cells, you have structures called mitochondria. These are your energy factories. Under normal conditions, your body takes glucose and converts it into energy, about 36 units of energy per molecule. This energy is called ATP. It's what powers everything in your body. But when cells are exposed to damage, like toxins, inflammation, or radiation, those mitochondria can stop working properly. And when that happens, the cell switches to a backup system. This backup system is ancient. It existed long before complex life forms, and it's called glycolysis. But here's the problem. It's extremely inefficient. Instead of producing 36 units of energy, it only produces 2. And this is exactly what cancer cells rely on. A scientist named Otto Warburg discovered this nearly 100 years ago. He found that cancer cells depend heavily on this primitive energy system. And that discovery still shapes how cancer is detected today. For example, PET scans. Doctors inject a form of radioactive glucose into the body. Cancer cells absorb that sugar rapidly, so they light up brightly on the scan, because they're constantly consuming fuel. So cancer isn't just growing randomly. It's running on a completely different energy system. This system also creates a lot of waste, especially lactic acid. And cancer actually thrives in that acidic environment. While your healthy cells struggle, it's also highly adaptable. If one fuel source becomes limited, cancer can switch to others, like amino acids or even ketones in advanced stages. Now this is where things connect back to parasites. Because glycolysis, the system cancer uses, is one of the oldest survival pathways on Earth. Researchers have identified 3 major survival strategies shared by parasites, fungi, and cancer. Let's go through them. First, structure. These organisms rely on an internal scaffolding to maintain their shape and divide rapidly. Cancer cells divide uncontrollably, just like parasites. Some parasites can produce thousands of offspring in a single day. Cancer behaves in a very similar way: rapid, aggressive growth. Certain anti-parasitic drugs target this exact structure. They break down the internal framework of these cells. And when that structure collapses, the cell can no longer survive. Second, immune evasion. Normally, damaged cells self-destruct, but cancer cells and parasites can disable that process. They essentially put up a signal that says, "Don't attack me," and the immune system listens. Some treatments, both pharmaceutical and natural, help remove that signal, allowing your immune system to recognize and destroy the harmful cells. Third, fuel. These organisms rely heavily on glycolysis. So if you disrupt that fuel source, you weaken their ability to survive. This means certain compounds may interfere with cancer's energy supply, the same way they affect parasites. So why isn't this widely talked about? One major reason is economics. Many of these compounds are inexpensive. Some are no longer under patent. and large-scale trials can cost hundreds of millions of dollars. A lot of the research comes from smaller institutions and international studies. Some case reports have shown promising results, even in patients who didn't respond to conventional treatments. Now, this doesn't mean there's a simple one-size-fits-all solution. Cancer is extremely complex and highly adaptive. Reducing sugar and refined carbohydrates can help limit one of cancer's main fuel sources. But because cancer can adapt, a more dynamic approach may be needed. At the center of all this is your immune system. Two key players are killer T cells and natural killer cells. These are your body's built-in defense against cancer, and there are several ways to support them. Optimizing vitamin D levels, fasting, both intermittent and extended, getting quality sleep, and regular exercise. So when you put everything together, you start to see a pattern. Cancer shares survival traits with parasites, and some approaches may target those shared mechanisms. The next question is, what should you actually eat? And how do you structure your diet to adapt with it? That's exactly what I break down in the next video. You'll want to watch that next.